What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dragon Ball version podcast. We're on episode 12. I am Gozen from the YouTube and Twitch channel AnimeUproar, one of your co-hosts. The other is Ray, the Dragon Ball and anime version. What up, Ray?
What up, goes in Dragon Ball Z today?
Dragon Ball Z time. So we have the Dragon Ball Z Dead Zone movie, which, because we're doing chronologically and it happens before the series, but then we're jumping right into the episodes 1 to 21 of the Dragon Ball Z anime, or chapters 1 to 18 of the Dragon Ball Z manga. So we got Raditz, we got Snake Way, we got King Kai, we got amazing shit going on. Piccolo training Gohan, like amazing shit. And then next week we're going to cover episodes 22 to 35, or chapters 19 to 47 of the manga, plus the World's Strongest movie and the Tree of Might movie as well. So those are the next two movies after Dead Zone, and they'll take place after the episodes we watch for the next episode. Yeah. So, Ray, are you excited?
I am. I'm excited for a couple reasons. Dragon Ball Z is obviously so iconic within like popular culture here.
Hold on. I just want to say that Raph's Revenge in the chat for Twitch says, "Woo, child abuse arc," which there was definitely some of that for Piccolo and Gohan.
So I was gonna save this, but I'll just say it now. Piccolo, in many instances, because again, I'm watching Cobra Kai, I see so much of the sensei in Piccolo in terms of how he treats kids.
Yeah, for sure. I see that too. And
treats kids like absolute shit. Doesn't even care if it's a kid.
And he means the blonde guy, like the main character of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, it's like a tough love approach, but that's why when he does nice things, it's like so much more powerful because he's usually a dick, right? So that's kind of like that's kind of a cheat code douchebags have, right? Or like jerks, where it's like, if you're constantly a dick, you could do something like slightly nice, and then you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But if you're always nice, it's like, when you're not nice, it's like, yo, why are you not being nice? So Piccolo has that going for him.
Yeah. And I think Kami at one point says, oh, I sense a transformation in Piccolo. And it's like, yeah, he's still an asshole. But you do see a transformation in this arc with Piccolo. And,
yeah, you definitely do.
He's treating Gohan horribly, but he's doing it for his own good. Because if he doesn't do it, who knows what will happen in the future.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that as well. Just one more time, reminding you guys that if you're listening to the podcast, we do film this live on the Rant Cafe Twitch. And obviously, for everybody listening on Twitch, we do upload full episodes on your podcast platform of choice, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever else. And also on the YouTube channel AnimeUproar 2, we will be uploading some episodes as well. So we already uploaded the finale of Dragon Ball, and we'll be probably uploading this one as well. So plenty of places to watch. Just wanted to update you guys on that if you want to know where to watch the older episodes. And yeah, we can jump right into the Dead Zone movie, which I think offers a lot of what we're going to see in the episodes that we're going to talk about here.
We can. I just wanted to, I think before you spoke about the comment there, I was just going to talk about initial impression of Dragon Ball Z. Just the excitement there before getting into it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, go for it.
So I was going to say excited for two reasons. Number one, it's just so iconic. And I think Geekdom 101 talked about it. Like, in terms of anime communities, it is super iconic. So excited to be going over an iconic anime. But number two, and I mentioned this before, I did watch parts of Dragon Ball Z as a kid. Barely remember any of it, if that. But like, just super excited because it brings me back to my childhood. Brings me back to like sitting on the couch in front of the TV. I still remember it was like every night at 8:30. And yeah, it's just taking me back to me being a kid, which is a really cool experience.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, Ray is a virgin in the sense that, he never watched Dragon Ball and he vaguely remembers Dragon Ball Z as a kid, but never watched it from beginning to end or anything like that. No. And yeah, like, it's hard. I'd be surprised if you could find anyone who knows nothing about Dragon Ball Z from like and grew up in like our time. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's plastered everywhere. Video games, commercials on TV, right? When we used to watch TV before Netflix and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's fair that everybody would be exposed to it one way or another. But
Yeah.
this is gonna be your first time really like getting into it.
Especially
So
like we were the TV generation of like the 90s and early 2000s. So for us, whatever was on TV is what we watched. We didn't have the luxury to pick and
yeah,
choose
guys.
what we wanted.
Yeah. I know how crazy is it that people won't be able to relate to that pretty soon, or can't even relate to that if they're growing up now.
Yeah, like there were shows. I remember, especially in the summer when I was off school and I was, say, like at my grandma's house because my parents were working, and I would just turn on the TV and I'd be like, "Yeah, the next hour of TV is gonna be shit." Like I know I don't like the show, but right now there's nothing better to do, so I might as well just watch these shows.
No,
That's what life is
I could
like.
relate to that so hard. Oh my god. Yeah, I remember like literally watching shows that I didn't even like, but it's like, what else am I gonna do? You know,
Yeah,
it's TV, it's cartoons. I might as well watch.
that's why I watched Full House. Believe it or not, like Full House was on at a certain point, or like some like cheesy 90s or 80s family sitcom, and it's like there's nothing on until this show comes on, so I might as well turn on this Full House or Step by
Exactly.
Step. Yeah.
And I, for one, didn't read back then, so I was just like, I didn't know what to do besides TV. You know, it's
Yeah, me
like,
neither.
yeah.
That and like Game Boy were my two things.
Yeah, yeah. Like I did go outside, but if no one was outside, it was TV pretty much. All right. So, Dead Zone movie with Garlic Jr. And we had some people in the chat saying that it was from like, a long time ago. Yeah, 21 years ago it seems like right now. No,
Wow.
wait. Wait. No. 30. 31 cuz it's 2020, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
came out in 1989. So
Wow.
31 years ago, people, we're gonna be talking about this movie, and I love that. I love that we could actually like talk about something that came out 31 years ago, like older than me, older than both of us, and like we actually have an audience and we can like talk about it. Like that to me is so trippy. But yeah, we're talking about a 31-year-old movie. And what did you initially think of it? It was cool because it's really introducing us to this Dragon Ball Z world.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I saw some of the motifs and tropes from this arc within the movie itself. I was a little confused at first when I heard Pilaf's voice. Like that's got to be the voice actor for Pilaf, for Garlic Jr.
Yeah, could have been, because we're watching dub. If in case you don't know, like the English dub. So yeah, I don't know how it is for the Japanese, but yeah, they did seem to use the same one, but it obviously wasn't the same character.
Yeah. As soon as I heard his voice, I'm like, fuck. I thought we got rid of this guy.
um, interesting thing to
So
say,
sure
but
enough, sure enough, it wasn't. So I was happy about that.
yeah, and just like kind of spoiling a bit of what's gonna happen later, which obviously everybody should have watched it already and or read it. But so we're gonna have Garlic Jr. adds in the kidnapping that we get with Raditz. It adds in the Piccolo and Goku teamwork that we're gonna get with Raditz too. It adds in Gohan's hidden potential that we're gonna get with the first arc of Dragon Ball Z too. So it seems to be a lot of like them testing the waters here, or just like retelling the story again in a bit, except with like instead of Raditz, it's Garlic Jr., right?
Hmm.
And Garlic Jr. is the son of this guy who actually competed with Kami to become a god, but then got banished for his like greed and ambition to a different like dead zone, I guess, different universe, different dimension. And so this is his like spawn, just like Piccolo has a spawn in Piccolo Jr. And yeah, so the whole thing is them taking on this Garlic Jr. dude who
Yeah.
actually succeeds in wishing for immortality, right?
Yes, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was interesting too, because that's an element that'll come in with Vegeta wanting
Yeah.
immortality, right? So
Yeah.
again, this movie perfectly captures a lot of the stuff that's gonna happen in a slightly different way within Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm. Yeah. So the actual movie itself starts with Piccolo's training, and we know how strong Piccolo is. and all of a sudden these shadows come out. We later find out they're these kind of monsters that work for Garlic Jr., but they come out and they start beating him up, and they beat him up pretty well. Like, it looks like he's deteriorating at the end. You question whether he has actually died, though you know when Kami appears he hasn't, because if Piccolo dies, so does Kami. We also get introduced to Gohan, like you said, who this is the first time getting introduced to him because he's not in Dragon Ball itself, and he's studying outside. He's someone who is like a devout student. His mother's really hard on him.
Scholar, yes.
He has a tail, yep, which is interesting because it resembles Goku as a child having a tail. But it starts out fairly dark in the sense of when the Ox King comes, he gets knocked out from behind by one of the monsters, and Gohan ends up appearing. This is the first instance, I would say, Gohan appearing very cowardly, though he is really young. He's four.
So we have to say that. So I also had this thought where I'm like, Gohan and Goku seem completely different, right? But and that is part of their personalities. But at the same time, Goku was how old? Like 12 when the show started?
12.
Yeah. So Gohan is like 4 here, tops.
Yeah.
So big fucking age difference right there. 8 years, even though it doesn't look like it. So everybody keep that in mind when he's like being a crybaby. Like, he's literally practically a baby. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Though his crying was so annoying at times, I do have to keep that in mind. I'm not going to criticize him for that.
That's so funny. I didn't even pay attention to that.
Oh.
But that's interesting that you found it like annoying.
Well, especially when we get to the training with Piccolo, I just can't get that voice out of my head.
I guess I just expect it at this point. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really like. I wasn't too bothered by it, but you definitely related to Piccolo there, how he found it super annoying.
Yeah. So then that particular monster knocks them out, ends up being able to knock down Chi-Chi, who we know Chi-Chi is a strong fighter as well. And obviously, similar to in Dragon Ball Z,
let's not go overboard, but yeah, she's strong based on humans. But
she's strong based on humans. Yeah.
But these guys did well against Piccolo, seemingly. So
yeah. But they end up similar in Dragon Ball Z, which we later see with Raditz. They end up kidnapping Gohan because he does have that Dragon Ball on his head, which is interesting when it comes to, like, at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z in this movie, I'm thinking to myself, where are the Dragon Balls at this point? And yeah, he has one of them. They end up kidnapping.
And let's just say how perfect that is, because he has a 4-star ball, which now that we watch Dragon Ball, know the significance of it, because Goku associates it with his grandpa Gohan, and he passed down the name Gohan, and he made a hat with the 4-star ball. So, I mean, in Dragon Ball Z, you don't need to know this to enjoy it, but man, it's a lot more significant when you know the backstory.
Yeah. So he gets kidnapped. When Garlic Jr. Ends up, when he gets brought to Garlic Jr., he senses great power from Gohan. And that's something I noticed throughout Dragon Ball Z so far. Very different from Dragon Ball itself, except maybe at the end. There's a lot of people being able to sense power, sense people coming, a lot of power level things appearing now compared to Dragon Ball.
And obviously that's really exciting stuff. Like, I think we all really love power, like leveling and power scaling. I think that's something that I was really hyped about as a kid as well, and still am.
Mm-hmm. So we get that situation. There is a funny moment when Gohan is with the monsters. He ends up getting drunk from eating that fruit. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, I do. And then there's like this whole like montage. Yeah.
And they're trying to like chase him, like, don't fall off the thing. And he's just going around, and it's a humorous moment based on the kind of dark tone that was set at the very beginning of the arc, with the kidnapping, with the Ox King getting knocked down.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dark tone that we'll talk about in Dragon Ball Z, like a lot. Yeah. Like, obviously they always find time for humor, but that's something different you'll see with like Dragon Ball Z and other anime. Like, they are not afraid to go to dark places, bro.
Yeah, no, I know. I've noticed that in this particular arc especially.
And yeah, with the movie, like, we could pretty much talk about it as much as you want. Like, I'm cool with getting to Dragon Ball Z like as soon as possible with the Raditz stuff. But what highlights did you want to talk about in the Garlic Jr. movie? Because it is cool
Yeah.
that we get to see like the Z fighters back together. We got Krillin, we got Piccolo and Goku working together.
Yeah, that was cool. It was also cool to see Goku and Piccolo teaming up, even like temporarily. They see this common enemy and realize he's a threat to Earth, and that really, in order for them to beat him, they have to team up together, which is crazy considering just in Dragon Ball itself,
Yeah, to be fair, it's
Piccolo
been
was,
5 years, but it definitely
yeah,
doesn't seem like that to us, right?
yeah. So yeah, it is crazy that just in the, you know, previous arc we watched, minus the movies, there was so much animosity between the two of them that they were able to put this aside. But yeah, they had to because of Garlic Jr. and his potential to destroy the world, and just really like it's crazy. He poses a new threat to them all, and uh, I think he calls that one technique. I mean, there's obviously a lot of like martial arts going on in terms of punching, dodging, energy waves being thrown. But Garlic Jr.'s kind of secret weapon, if you'd call it, is I think he calls it the dead zone, which is that cycle in the sky that absorbs
And
anything.
sends you to like a different dimension kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So that was the craziest part because you're hoping none of them get brought into it, but of
I don't know,
course this
man.
is
It's a filler movie, bro. Who knows? Maybe they
yeah.
all die. Just imagine. It's like,
And
and
then
there will be no more Dragon Ball Z.
And then the beginning of Dragon Ball Z is them getting the dragon and saying, "Whoever died in the dead zone cycle, I want them to be brought back to life." But
No,
actually, yeah, we figure actually because there's a new rule we learn about, not in the movie, I think, but don't we learn that you can't wish the same
yeah,
person back?
yeah. So it's like
Yeah,
the technical rule I think they said was the dragon can't you can't wish the same thing twice.
yeah,
So yeah, and that implies that you can't bring back someone else again with this dragon. So
yeah,
that's kind of the assumption there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so that is an interesting thing, and it raises the stakes because we talk about like, oh man, like what's the point of even worrying if the Dragon Balls can solve everything? Well, here, no, they can't. Like they can solve one death, but if Krillin were to die again, according to these rules, he'll be dead forever, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so that was cool, and I really liked, like we mentioned it, but how the immortality was thrown in because it shows like how immortality isn't everything, and there are ways to defeat immortal people, right? Like another thing you could say is just if they were stronger, like hands down stronger, which they weren't really, then like doesn't matter that he's immortal. Like they could like trap him, you know. I don't want to get like I don't want to get too gory, but they could like, you know, cut up his body and put him in different places and stuff like that. Like
yeah. Or
bury him. Like you
yeah,
know what I mean? Yeah,
they could like
exactly.
they can paralyze him, and
Yeah,
he could
and
just be a vegetable for the all eternity.
exactly. So it's not really like immortality in and of itself is all it's cracked up to be. Like, yeah, if you have someone who can kick your ass, it doesn't matter how many times you come back to life, you're still gonna get humiliated every time.
Yeah,
Yeah, but in this case, they did have to actually. Gohan helped actually get this guy to go through his own dead zone, and Kami said he suffered the same fate as his father. So yeah, it's crime did not pay.
no, yeah, and yeah, it's pretty cool seeing Gohan in that light, considering most of the movie we look at him as a crybaby, which he is based on his
And
age.
I
But
like the way they combined that. You know, like again,
yeah,
he's 4 years old. Like, don't hate on him for crying, but at the same time, he's this powerful dude, and it seems to be associated with his emotions. Like, stronger
hmm,
emotions means that he's going to be like more powerful.
yeah. So yeah, that was cool. How I mean, he basically gets this blue energy wave around him. He hits Garlic with it, and then Garlic goes into the dead zone cycle, like you said. And then on their way back home, Goku kind of says, "I'm not going to tell Chi Chi about Gohan's power at this time. Like maybe down the road, but I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going to, cover that part up."
That's another thing that I'm like, what the fuck, Chi Chi? Because, like, I mean, I get it kind of, but she was also a fighter.
Yeah.
So why not respect martial arts? But I kind of get it because she's like a mother and she's overprotective and she wants to protect Gohan and make sure he has a solid job. And it's kind of like making fun of just mothers in general and how they want you to prioritize, like, the respected path, become a doctor, become a scholar, become a this and that, instead of just, being a martial artist, which, to be fair, like, won't work out as well as it does in Dragon Ball Z for most people.
Yeah. I just can't. It's so funny. This is near the beginning of Dragon Ball Z when they ask him, "Oh, like, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And he says, "Oh, I think he says become an orthopedist." Like, what 4-year-old says that?
Okay, exactly. And that wasn't the manga, it said scholar, but did you even look up what orthopedist means? I didn't even look it up, bro.
Orthopedist.
Is it like a foot
Let's
doctor
get
or
the.
something?
It sounds like in 1 second. Orthopedist
Okay,
is
while Ray looks it up,
a
I'm guessing.
physician
I'm guessing foot
who,
doctor.
yes, who work with bones, with surgery, casting, and bracing. So people who work particularly with bones, like a
Yeah.
bone doctor.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So that's random, but I think they try to be funny and they take a lot of, like, I guess they take a lot of liberty sometimes with the dub, and with the anime. Like, they try to make their own jokes because, like, not all jokes, especially when we get to King Kai, will transfer over as well if you directly translate them. So they have to have some fun with the dubbing.
Hmm.
Yeah, because, like, puns. You know what puns are, obviously, Ray, when, like, things sound the same and it
Yeah,
can be confused. And yeah, obviously, that puns are not the same when you translate to different languages.
yeah.
So they have to create new puns. But yeah, I thought the movie, like, where would you put this movie among the ones we've seen? Like, I'd probably put this um, among the first or second, just because I really liked it. I liked how they added the Dragon Ball Z components. I loved seeing all of the Dragon Ball Z elements, from Gohan's power to. I remember fondly, also, maybe it's nostalgia, like the Garlic Jr. and how it was, like, really cool when I initially saw it. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this one. Way more than the first three movies we saw, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's higher stakes in this movie, especially when he summons the dragon and wishes for immortality. And to see Goku and Piccolo fighting together, I think was cool. So I would rank it top two as well.
And Sam Raditz just made a donation and says "Big Bro Raditz." So yes, we are moving on now after the movie to Raditz. Dragon Ball Z takes place again 5 years after, so Gohan's 4 years old. We got to give those 9 months for him to be born, and then the Raditz comes in and his interaction with the farmer. What did you think about that?
That was funny. And um, yeah, it was just hilarious how that guy just had no idea what that was because it's basically like something that comes from outer space. We get a lot of those movies. Like we talked about how Dragon Ball referenced different movies, and we see with popular movies like things coming from outer space, like ET, whatever, and people are thinking, "What the heck is that?" So it was funny seeing the farmer, and we see. I'm pretty sure he scales up the farmer's power level too with his radar.
Yeah, like, what was the power level? Like five, I think.
Yeah, something. Well, I don't know if it was five. I'm trying to think. The turtle, maybe the turtle was a decimal place, so maybe it was a bit more than five, but probably not that much.
No, I think it was like five, honestly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. But the point is, it wasn't anything close to like 100, because
Yeah.
Master Roshi was like over 100.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, there was that. I really love the scouter part. We get some, obviously, like, bullets not stopping him, of course. Like,
Yeah.
he's beyond Goku as a kid, obviously, and he just, like, flicks the bullet back way faster than it was shot. We get some flexing on his part. And flexing, Ray, I don't know if we went over this, but flexing is just when, you know, uh, characters are showing off their power.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, um, we had a question asking if you're ESL, English second language, like, but no, he's just like anime SL. You know what I mean?
If
He's I,
I'm
I just
ESL,
I don't need to explain everything. I just need to explain, like, anime related stuff. Um, so yeah, we got that. What did you think about Raditz? Like, as a villain when he popped up? What the fuck was going through your head?
I really liked him as a villain. I talked about before how I liked Tao as a villain. I would rank this guy as, in terms of like badass we've seen so far, right up there with Piccolo. Like I don't know, I just thought he was such a badass with his long hair, his
Yeah,
armor as well.
yeah,
The
yeah.
armor's pretty thick, so yeah, I totally saw him as a threat there, similar to how I saw Tao as a threat. But no, I loved him as a villain. He
Yeah,
was
me
he
too,
was
me too.
cruel as well. Like he was willing to do whatever it took to get what he needs.
He was an
We see that.
interesting character, yeah. So he obviously viewed these guys as like lower life forms, like, you know, the humans and stuff like that. But there were moments where it's like, oh, well, he wants Goku to join him. He doesn't want to just kill Goku. And he tells Gohan, like, come on, show your pride as a Saiyan, you know? So it's like there are moments where you're like, he's kind of acting like their family, kind of. But
Yeah,
then but then obviously at the end of the day, like if they're not down to kill humans, he's gonna kill them.
yeah,
And it was so
and
funny how at one point he just asked Goku to like get 100 bodies and stack them up.
oh, I know.
Like Goku
If
would ever do that.
if I don't come back and 100 bodies aren't killed, I'm gonna kill your son. I know.
And my nephew. Oh man. No,
Yeah,
I really like the family angle. So what did you think about the whole older brother angle that Raditz adopted?
I don't know. You're the one who has an older brother yourself, so I don't have a
Oh,
sibling, but it'd be interesting to get your perspective. But for myself, I mean, I thought it was interesting. It was interesting as well how basically he comes in at the beginning and he starts muttering these things. For myself, I had no idea what he was talking about, saying like Kakarot has failed, destroying the planet. And I'm
yeah,
thinking
you're
like,
like, what the fuck is who the
who
hell
the
is
fuck is
Kakarot?
Kakarot? Yeah, and so that confused the hell out of me. But yeah, as we go along, it's interesting how he's able to tell the history of Goku, and Goku's he's like a child at that moment. He's learning about his past. Like he's totally innocent. He still has that innocence to him in that he doesn't know the darkness of his past in the sense of when he was born, he was this rambunctious kid, they say, and Gohan couldn't control him at all. And really, he would have been like Raditz if he didn't fall down that ravine and hit his head.
That's interesting. That's another interesting part to me because he's always this pure-hearted character, and it's like, so he wouldn't have been if he didn't hit his head. That's
Yeah.
like a bit weird for me to like, how should I say? It's a bit weird for me to accept because
Yeah.
it's like, why would a hit to the head make you pure-hearted? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I get the trade-off because this is such an interesting story. Like with the
Hmm.
Saiyans brought in, the world has gotten huger. Like the Saiyans are by far one of my favorite parts of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So them bringing in Saiyans now and explaining that Goku, changing his backstory so that he's like found as an alien pretty much. It was all really interesting to me, and you know I wouldn't trade it because I really love the Saiyan aspect of Dragon Ball.
Hmm. Yeah. So that was cool. I mean, we see how much of a badass he is as well in terms of he ends up meeting Piccolo, and I think he called what does he call them like your green friend or something like he
Yeah,
insults him like
yeah,
that.
something like that. And it's funny because like yeah, so let's just talk about power level. So Piccolo's is 322 when he first sees him.
Yeah.
So I just want to like mention that, and so Piccolo sends a shot at him, and it literally doesn't even scratch Raditz to the point where Piccolo's like practically shaking in his boots. And
Hmm.
so you got to realize that's a huge twist where we just saw Piccolo being like the most dangerous person alive and being the main villain, and then all of a sudden he can't even scratch this next villain.
Yeah.
So we just upped the ante a lot in this time skip.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the crazy part. The stakes are crazy now, and just understanding the power levels are just it's a completely different game now because we saw Goku and Piccolo were neck and neck there in Dragon Ball, and Piccolo's obviously been training over the past 5 years. He's gotten stronger. So just to think that he's able to um, easily survive that energy ball. And then he ends up saying something like, I forget the exact name of the technique,
Double
but he said,
Sunday.
yes, the double Sunday, something ridiculous like that. Yeah. So he ends up saying, I'm going to use the double Sunday technique, but then he senses an even higher power level or something, and he thinks it's going to be Goku. So then he ends
Yeah,
up
he knows it's
flying off.
Goku. Yeah.
Which the other cool thing is, I'm not sure if in Dragon Ball, I know Goku ends up like going in the air multiple times, but Raditz just seamlessly is able to fly around.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like flying is no longer like this specific technique where like it seems kind of weird. It's just like straight up flying and it goes fast and there isn't like a magic part of it. It's just like, okay, bro, I'm flying, super speed, like, flying has definitely gotten an upgrade in the transition from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, he doesn't need a Nimbus, though he would never be able to even ride one because you go right through it. But
Oh yeah, Raditz for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be good luck with that.
yeah,
Yeah, so we have I thought it was kind of funny. I love Krillin, but I thought it was kind of funny when like Raditz his tail just whipped Krillin in the face.
I know.
That was pretty fucking funny. Oh man, it was just like psh, and it just sent him flying and Goku was like, "Oh shit, is he dead?" Like with a tail whip, Raditz just like scared everyone.
Yeah.
That was a pretty glorious moment, I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, he ends up whipping Krillin with the tail, and he gives that whole history, or he mentions that the
Yeah,
relationship
very
between him and
interesting stuff.
Goku.
Exactly. He mentions
Roshi,
the relationship and the history of the
yeah,
Saiyans. Who
yeah,
who do you want to explain it? How they like, make a living, I guess?
yeah. Well, I think Roshi's the one who talks about Goku, like when how he was when he first came to Earth. I think that's Roshi who says, "Oh yeah, I recall
Yeah,
Gohan calling me."
Roshi knows, yeah, exactly Gohan's story. But Raditz explains how, Planet Vegeta is destroyed.
Yeah,
There's only 4 Saiyans left, counting Gohan. That's 5.
yeah,
And what Saiyans do is they exterminate populations of planets and
yeah,
then sell those planets to people who want to pay a high price for like a nice fertile land that you can live on. And that's pretty fascinating. I like the fact they incorporated like, you know, entrepreneur, like he talks about like entrepreneurial, like the Saiyans are entrepreneurial. And I don't know, it's interesting seeing these politics in play. And obviously it's a horrible thing to do, but it makes for an interesting backstory.
yeah. No, for sure. And we learn even more, I think, near the end of this arc. Um, Kai ends up giving more context about what it was like on Planet Vegeta. So we could save that, but yeah, it's interesting learning the backstory and the history of the Saiyans because, again, in Dragon Ball, I don't think the Saiyans are even mentioned at all, right?
No, no. That we don't know
Yeah,
like anything about
yeah,
Goku, where he's just like this weird kid with a tail.
yeah,
So it's possible that the Saiyan thing wasn't even in the author Toriyama's mind until this happened. Because remember, he's writing weekly, so they have to make things interesting like every week. So
yeah,
sometimes things will pop up that make for an interesting backstory, even though it wasn't planned all along.
yeah. So Raditz ends up taking a huge. He hits Goku pretty hard. I'm trying to think back to what it was. I think is it almost just like just a punch to the stomach or something.
Yeah, like a kick. I think a knee to the
Yeah,
stomach or something.
yeah.
And yeah, he just takes Goku out flat.
He's
It's
winded, like he can't even get up.
no, yeah, he's done,
Yeah,
and that's well done too. Like Goku has to watch powerlessly, unable to move, as Raditz, like the most dangerous man on the planet, kidnaps his son in front of him.
yeah.
Like like how bad must that feel? Like the
Oh, I know.
emotions there, like are significant.
Because we get that like sweet. I don't even know if you want to call it sweet, but we get that moment right near the beginning of Dragon Ball Z where Gohan's lost in the forest. He falls off the mountain, and Goku ends up saving him.
Yeah, it's so
And
sweet. It's so sweet,
you
Ray,
know,
when kids fall off mountains.
no, no, no,
I'm just
not
fucking
that
with you.
part,
I'm
but
just
you see
fucking
that.
with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see the part where the relationship is so close, and that moment he could lose it on his son and be like, basically act like Chi-Chi. You know, Chi-Chi would have lost on him, but he knows he's got an adventurous side to him. He
Yeah.
sees, in a way, he sees him in Gohan, though he is different in other ways. So he has a super close bond with his son,
And
and
he's also
obviously,
a bit of a pushover.
yeah,
Just to not make it like Goku's a perfect father, because no one's
no,
perfect.
no,
One of his problems is that, yeah, he completely lacks like
discipline
that
skills.
discipline exactly,
Yeah,
and that's why Piccolo needs to train Gohan, because
yeah,
Goku wouldn't be able to do it, right? He'd be
yeah,
too quote unquote kind to him, and he'd be like, "Oh, let's take you home to your mom," and he had to deal with Chi Chi, right? So Piccolo has to actually unspoil Gohan himself, which we're gonna get
yeah,
into later.
yeah. So yeah, we get that moment. He steals Gohan. As you mentioned earlier, he says, "Unless you kill 100 humans, he won't be giving Gohan back," and he'll end up killing Gohan.
I love how casually he says that. He's like, "Yeah, bro, it's all good. It's all good. Just like kill 100 of these humans just to show you're like, you're down, and just stack them up here, and I'll be back tomorrow. All right."
I know.
Like it's just such a matter of fact way he says it. Oh, I love it.
Well, he's been doing it on other planets, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
nothing
Oh
to him.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, he takes Gohan, and they could track him because of the Dragon Radar, right?
Yeah,
And Gohan has a Dragon Ball on his head, on his hat. And the interesting thing is, before Piccolo reveals he tracked Raditz, he was following him and listening to the whole conversation. Master Roshi and Piccolo offer to help, right?
yeah,
And the interesting thing is Piccolo. Krillin obviously doesn't want to, because if he dies again, that's it for him. And he complains about not even having a girlfriend and how he'll never get one at this rate. So I enjoy those moments. I like how, like, yes, it's a shonen series where like you're fighting to the death and it's about honor, but my boy wants to get laid too. My boy wants to have a girlfriend. So so
it's human.
I like the realistic regrets he's dealing with.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as soon as Raditz ends up landing after flying, he puts Gohan in the pod that he came in because he's just being so loud and annoying. And he does notice something as well. So again, we talk about power levels in this arc. He notices Gohan's power level at that moment is around 710,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
crazy considering Piccolo's was, again, you mentioned 300 and something, right?
Yeah, Piccolo's was 300 and something, and Gohan's at this point, like he hasn't done anything crazy. He's just like scared, and it's
Yeah,
already 710. And keep in mind, this is Gohan at 4 years old, and Goku at after everything he's been through is what is 324. That's the
yeah,
one. That's what he's at right now. So that's how crazy Gohan's potential is.
yeah. Like I want to call it almost a resting like power level because we learned that the
Yeah,
power levels go up.
it's not even resting. It's like resting with weights, because
Yeah,
they even go higher without the weights. But
yeah,
still, even without the weights, it's 400 something,
yeah,
and still Gohan is more, and it will
yeah,
continue to be more. So yeah, Gohan's potential at 4 is to be straight up stronger than Goku at, like, let's see, if he was 18, like 23. So
hmm,
pretty crazy.
yeah. Crazy potential. So yeah, Goku and Piccolo end up, like you mentioned, tracking down Raditz, and Goku takes off those armored clothes, and his power level goes up. They both charge at him, but Raditz blocks
Yeah,
everything and hits them.
Cause I'm a nerd, I will say
Uh,
that without the clothes, Piccolo was at 408 and Goku was at
all right,
416. Just
look
want
at
to
that.
point that out. All right, keep going.
So yeah, Raditz blocks all the punches. He ends up going in the air and throws an energy wave at them, which they end up dodging it, but it blows up like a huge piece of land. Like it's crazy just how powerful Raditz is
And it
with
depends
not
at
a
what point you're talking about, because Piccolo's arm does get caught by
he
one of
does.
his
Yes.
blasts, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, his he I think that's the one I'm thinking of. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one where it doesn't necessarily hit him, but it hits his arm. He dodges it, but it hits his arm, and he loses his arm. Which at that moment, I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't he just grow it back?
And this
Like
is
it's
my
so small.
assumption. I thought too, but he does later. But my assumption is that he doesn't need it for that attack, and he wants to save as much energy as possible.
Yeah,
Because if you regrow an entire arm, I'm guessing that wastes energy,
yeah,
right? So that is my logical explanation for that, and not just him forgetting to do it sooner.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that makes sense. And yeah, so I do really like this when Piccolo's like, "So Goku, like after all these years, do you have a secret technique?" And he's like, "Nope, that's it, Piccolo." And Piccolo's like, "Okay, good thing I'm not as lazy as you because I have one that I was creating to defeat you, and now I'm gonna use it on Raditz to save you." So that was a pretty interesting dynamic. I really love the dynamic between these two like unwilling friends,
Yeah,
right? And how could you not love Piccolo in this arc? Like
I
Piccolo is
know,
so good. He's
I know.
so good.
Which, yeah, that is interesting because we know Piccolo has been training. He has this new technique he calls the special beam cannon. Goku has basically, at the past few years, he's been like a family man in the sense of he had to have raised a kid.
Well, I'm
I'm just
sure
curious
he's
to
been
know,
training,
yeah,
but he just
not the
Goku is not
extent
the
of,
kind of guy who usually like I don't think Goku ever develops well, maybe he does. I'm not gonna say it never, but like he's usually not the one to develop his own techniques. He gets
yeah,
it passed down from like Master Roshi, from
yeah,
King Kai, as we're gonna see. Like he doesn't just like, oh, I created this brand new technique.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very true. But yeah, I'm curious to know how much he trained. I mean, Piccolo most likely trained more because he obviously has way more time on his hands. He's not, looking after a family. So, anyways, yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, Goku ends up keeping Raditz busy by trying to just like punch him. Raditz is dodging the shots, and at the same time, Piccolo is charging up. It takes a while for the special beam cannon to
to
charge up.
charge up for sure.
It looks like it's like these circle energy waves are going around his arm while he's charging up. Um, and yeah, we get to that moment where he ends up.
Let me just
Um,
say, so
Go ahead.
first Goku uses a Kamehameha,
Yeah,
while distracting Raditz, right? And his power level, so power levels are tricky. It goes up to 924 plus because he's like charging it, right? So he like
yeah,
charging all this power. And then at that point, Piccolo's attack is already at 1030 and going up. And then Goku's keeping him busy. And then Piccolo's goes up to 1330, and then he launches it, called Special Beam Cannon in the anime or in the manga, Light of Death.
hmm,
And fucking Raditz dodges it, and Piccolo says he's faster than the speed of light.
yeah,
So that attack is speed of light level, and Raditz dodges it, showing that he's quicker than the speed of light. And Piccolo was totally caught off guard, not expecting him to be able to dodge it at all.
yeah. I think it takes off his right armor on his shoulder because there's like a couple scratches there on his shoulder. But besides that, yeah, he is able to dodge it,
And yeah,
and
it's
that is
interesting.
crazy.
It's interesting how yeah, Zekin says Raditz freaked out at the power levels. He definitely did. And it's interesting because he also has energy blasts, but I guess he's not as good at focusing and charging them up to increase the power level, right?
Yeah,
Because he seemed surprised by that ability to like focus and increase your power level, but he has energy blast too. So I guess he's just not good at charging it up.
yeah. So yeah, we get that moment where he dodges it, and then we get the moment shortly after that where Goku, knowing that when he was a kid, his weakness for the longest time was his tail.
And we actually know this because we watched Dragon Ball. But it's so
Yeah,
funny looking back at this stuff at like how we still like I still enjoyed Dragon Ball Z, but like I just went along with everything. I didn't like question it. I'm like, oh, how did they know the tail is his weakness? I was just
yeah,
like, this is so cool. The tail is his weakness.
yeah,
Like I was just not noticing that like all of this stuff makes no sense unless you watched like the earlier Dragon Ball.
yeah,
But yeah, exactly. He figures out that the tail is his weakness.
yeah. So he grabs the tail, and Raditz ends up. I think he grabs the tail so then Piccolo can use his special beam cannon on Raditz again, right?
Special beam. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
the whole idea is for Goku this time to immobilize Raditz
yeah,
so that he can't dodge.
yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I want to hear your thoughts on what's going to happen next, because this whole time Raditz is trying to manipulate Goku, and
Yeah,
Piccolo is like, "Don't be an idiot, Goku. Don't listen to this dude. He obviously just wants to save his life." And
I know.
meanwhile, Goku is like listening, and Raditz is like, "Oh, Kakarot, I was just teasing you, man. I was kidding. Like, obviously, your family. I was just bluffing. I wanted you to come along, be bros, do bro stuff together. But in reality, if you didn't want to, I was just gonna leave. Like, I'll never come back. Like, you know me. I'm your brother, man." And and Goku actually lets go of the fucking tail. What did you think of that?
I know. I was so disappointed, and it brought me back to, if you remember in Dragon Ball when Goku was in the conversation with Officer Black, and he
Yeah,
was trying to convince Goku at the time when he was a kid, and he saw through it, and I'm just like, man, you can't see through this. Like the
exactly.
guy, he
You
kidnapped your son and said he would kill him.
Yeah, and you think he's like, it almost feels like he's regressing in a sense. But
Yeah,
whatever, at least it's family, and at least like he doesn't do it again. But like to Raditz, obviously, like he's
yeah,
like, "Oh, you're not gonna trick me again." But yeah, I did have some comments saying like it's because Goku hit his head so hard, like, you know, as a kid, that he keeps forgetting these lessons. But
yeah,
yeah, like, should he have believed him? No, but this guy is his long lost brother, so
yeah.
there is something to be said about that, I believe. And Hooky Wookie in the chat mentions next time on Dragon Ball Z, he remembers hearing that a lot. And yeah, we definitely heard that a lot. Like every
Yeah.
episode was like next time on Dragon Ball Z, and yeah, that's exciting to me. Like I like that.
Absolutely. So yeah, that is disappointing that he lets go of his tail, but at the same time, you kind of understand it because family is important to him. He respects his grandfather a lot. He obviously respects like his wife, his kid. So it was probably tough for him in terms of being like, should I trust my brother? This guy is blood. But yeah, he ends up letting his guard down, and that obviously turns out bad because instantly he goes, knocks Goku down, and Piccolo's just like, crap. That
Exactly.
you know
Piccolo's
that
like, Goku, you fucking idiot.
that could have been the turning point. Like that could end things for us.
I also like this one part where Raditz was like, the greatness of Raditz will end. Like I love the way he talked about himself in the third person in the manga, which is
Yeah,
like, it's kind of funny, like the greatness of Raditz. But that will be even funnier as like we move on in Dragon Ball Z.
yeah,
Yeah, so obviously we know that Raditz escaped, and then Gohan is the one who saves the day because he breaks through the capsule, and now his power level is at 1,307. So only comparable to Piccolo's special beam cannon attack, which was enough to kill Raditz. So if
yeah,
Gohan could somehow maintain this level, like he could overpower Raditz, it seems like, but obviously he just gets in a headbutt, and it actually hurts Raditz more than anything up to this point.
yeah.
Cracks his armor. Like if he wasn't wearing armor, like that could have been it, bro. That could have been like end of the story. Gohan just beat Raditz.
Yes. No, that was pretty crazy, but that headbutt itself, that propelling himself against Raditz, takes a lot of the Gohan, and Raditz ends up just kind of like backhanding Gohan when he's trying to recover on the ground.
Yeah, and he thinks like he might be dead from that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Raditz, he's like limping at this point too. I mean, it was a pretty vicious headbutt,
Oh yeah, like
but
he
he ends
can't
up,
get himself together. Yeah,
yeah, he ends up surviving it.
but
Raditz,
but Goku takes advantage of that to catch him off guard and get him in, like, what is that called? That like wrestling move, like headlock or whatever. Like what is it
no, a
when you grab
headlock,
him from the behind or whatever?
no, because a headlock would be he actually just grabs his head. He puts both arms behind Raditz's arms and
Shoulders, yeah, and like
maybe just holds him like
there's
and
a
kind of
fucking name. Is it Full Nelson? Is that it?
Full Nelson.
Maybe, I don't know. Who cares? Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I got into chat full Nelson. Yes.
All right.
Okay, because I'm like, yeah, this is embarrassing for like hardcore like wrestling fans because they're like, dear
It is.
God.
It
But
is.
yeah, it's a full Nelson, and I don't think they did this in the anime, but in the manga, it explained that Piccolo's like, why didn't you grab him by the tail again? And in the manga, Goku was like, oh, he could have cut his tail off if it came to that. So
Yeah.
in this case, the full Nelson's actually even better than the tail grab, although it's
Yeah.
harder to maintain.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So he grabs him and he tells Piccolo to. Sorry, my notes just restarted themselves on an iPad. I have to get them back up.
It's cool. Yeah, like he pretty much
Oh yeah.
tells Piccolo to
He
fucking go through him, right?
he ends up going through him, which is like pretty like ballsy to think about. Like even the risk there that Goku's gonna die. No point in Dragon Ball does he obviously die and he's not brought back. So just the risk of Goku, like the main character, getting destroyed is crazy. And
Yeah,
I
what a
really didn't
start.
think.
What a start to Dragon Ball
I know.
Z. Like
I
our main
really,
character just fucking dies.
I really thought that like he would get out of it somehow. I thought, and you
Oh,
even see when Piccolo ends up launching the special beam cannon at him, it's about like less than a second. It goes through like it's going through Raditz. He's screaming, and I thought maybe he could just like
no, yeah,
let go of
Goku
him.
Goku isn't that fast. He's not right at speed.
Yeah, but no, it goes right through him, and it's like it's disturbing because you see him like scream like Raditz like in shock when it's going through him, and then Goku's still holding on for dear life. It goes through him, and yeah, it's a crazy moment. They both fall, obviously. Um, and like there's a really heartfelt moment I find. Um, what are
Yeah,
you
no,
laughing?
it was Sam's like two birds with one stone. So
Yes,
like yeah, that's exactly Piccolo's perspective kind of thing.
yes, because he says after he beats Raditz, he's gonna kill Goku.
Exactly.
So yeah. So anyways, um, when Raditz is on the ground, close to death, Piccolo ends up talking about how they'll probably wish Goku back through the Dragon Balls,
And
and Raditz
it's like if only you could not have
said that.
flexed or like kind of, you know, rubbed it in
I
cuz
know.
yeah, like that him saying that is what gets transmitted to Vegeta and Nappa,
Yeah,
and because of that they know, hey, they should like, you know, come to Earth,
yeah,
because otherwise they might have been like, oh fuck Raditz, he's weak, I don't give a fuck. But yeah, now they straight up want the Dragon Balls. So
yeah. Because of
pretty
later.
crazy, pretty crazy.
But there is that moment which is it brings me back to the second last tournament. I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually sorry. Yeah, it is the second last tournament. The one right before the Piccolo saga when Goku ends up finding Krillin dead, and we see that reversal when Krillin ends up on Bulma and no, I don't know if is it just Krillin. Krillin ends up going like he's right beside Goku when he's passing away, and it's that like silhouette, not silhouette moment, but it pans out to them, and it's this very heartfelt moment where it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
reverse.
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, like it's like the color fades in a way, and it's like they
Yes,
have a really like touching moment. I just want to say thank you, Moe Bear, for subscribing for 9 months in a row. Amazing. And yeah, I get what you mean. They definitely, even though you know, yeah, he can be wished back. At the same time, it is they do make it significant. And this battle was so good because it literally took everyone working together in unison. Like Gohan injured his armor and like distracted him. Goku caught him, sacrificed his life. Piccolo got him because Goku and Gohan helped. Like this was a Goku didn't surpass Raditz's power in order to defeat him. They had to combine all of their efforts in order to just defeat him, while Goku had to die in the process. So, as far as opening fights go, this is probably one of the best and my favorites in anime, where like the anime just begins if we count Dragon Ball Z as its own thing, and like this is such a good beginning. Like talk about starting with like a bang. It was crazy good.
yes, it was great, and at the same time, you're thinking it took three of them to bring down Raditz, and Vegeta and Nappa, we get introduced to them near the end of the episode, and how they hear about the Dragon Balls because of the radar.
By the way, Vegeta hype. I just want to say
Yeah,
that.
they hear about the Dragon Balls. They're talking about wishing for eternal life. They're not going to bring back Raditz. And yeah, they're basically, we get a hint that they're way stronger than Raditz. And we think if it took three of probably the strongest
And they weren't,
fighters
and
on the earth,
they weren't even stronger than him, right? Like they had to like
no,
work
it was
together.
strategy.
And
Exactly.
these guys
Strategy.
are way stronger than him. And King Kai will later say that they're two of the strongest fighters in the universe.
Yes.
Like that's what King Kai says. So the stakes are fucking real.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just crazy that how are they going to, get to that level? Two of them, especially, not just one. How are they going to get to that level in a matter of a year? It's
Exactly. Even
seems
if
at this point really improbable.
and they can't work together because there's two, right? So like it's much more difficult. So what happens is pretty much everyone gets to training, right? We got in the manga. I will say this: after what you mentioned, where Vegeta wants immortality, so no death or aging, he likes that idea. Um, he actually mentions in the manga Gohan and how it seems like mixing Saiyan and human blood begets a powerful hybrid. And Vegeta calls Gohan's power level impossibly high for a child. So I thought that was a very cool detail. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if it was in the anime, but mixing Saiyan and human blood begets a powerful hybrid. That him saying that and that fact is really interesting. And in the manga, uh, pretty much Nappa suggested like, hey, then should we like have kids with all these human women so that we could like grow a powerful army? And Vegeta is like, no way, like we don't want a bunch of people stronger than us. That would be crazy. So
Hmm.
that's like an added detail, which usually I think anime adds stuff, not takes away. But I don't remember that in the anime. Was I snoozing? Do you remember that or no?
No, I don't remember hearing that at
Yeah,
all.
so that's a super interesting manga detail, which I'm surprised that they left out in the anime.
Yeah, especially when it comes to human, like you have like the Ox King's genes, which super strong human.
I mean, true, true. That's probably a factor, but yeah, it just seems like there's something in that combination of
Yeah,
Saiyan half, a human half, mixing together creates a powerful cocktail.
yeah. So yeah, so as you mentioned, we get the kind of training mini arc for the rest of the arc. And I think this is really interesting in the sense of storytelling as well, because I want to say this is the first time so far when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, where there's multiple stories happening at once. And the writers are balancing all these stories. Like there are how many stories are going on storylines? There's at least three.
Yeah, there are, and there, it like I don't think it's the first time, but it's the first time it's this interesting because Gohan and Piccolo are like just as interesting as Goku and King Kai, right?
Yeah,
Like and Tien and Krillin and them, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever kind of thing.
yeah,
Like, they're doing their own thing. Like, personally, I don't care as much about them right now during this arc as I do
yeah,
about Gohan and Piccolo and then Goku and King Kai. So that's I will say that. I think it's more every story is more interesting compared to Dragon Ball where one story is obviously the
yeah,
most interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Cuz Gohan here does a good job of sharing the spotlight with Goku and adding much more like uh interest, and we don't need to constantly see Goku to be interested in what's going on.
Yeah, because usually before Dragon Ball, we had, say, Goku training, and you knew that was going to be like, in terms of especially training for the tournament, he was probably going to be the winner or close to being the winner. It's interesting how in this moment we have two potential solutions to the problems of the Saiyans coming. We have Gohan, which again he has untapped potential, and then we obviously have the Goku narrative as well. Whereas in Dragon Ball, we know it's mainly whatever narrative follows Goku, that'll be the solution to that particular problem, or he'll probably be the one that makes it to the finals of the tournament.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
we have
Here Gohan has more potential than even Goku.
yeah,
But still, like we're kind of expecting our boy Goku to to kind of come in for the save. Especially
yeah,
because like we figure out that he's coming a day after. But I do think that's interesting. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I think the day after is interesting because it makes everyone else's training much more relevant, right?
yeah,
Because if Goku is just stronger and he saves the day, that's not a then like no one gets to show off their power. So I think
yeah,
that it was a good storytelling move to have the other guys have to keep those guys at bay for a whole day.
yeah. And then help is on the way potentially. So
Yeah, exactly.
if
I mean,
all teams lost when they come, we have Goku obviously.
so and there's a lot of filler, like a lot of filler because
Hmm.
what we get is pretty much Gohan and Piccolo training, and the only notable thing is obviously Gohan turns into a great ape, but like
Yeah,
all the other story arcs, aside from him also cutting that dinosaur's tail to get food, um, are pretty much added in as filler, and
so the
every
robot.
yeah, that's all filler. And everything that Goku did on Snake Way, like the princess, the Snake Princess, the falling into hell, all of that is filler. He just kind of starts running. He doesn't have to repeat the run, and he just finishes at King Kai's place. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's all. Just so you guys know, because I do like pointing out what's filler and what's not filler. That's all filler, and but we could totally talk about anything you wanted to talk about. I did find the princess lady pretty funny. Like how Goku is like, "Oh,
yeah.
are you King Kai?"
I know. And
That was
he's
great.
dancing with her, and he's like, I wonder when she's gonna let her guard down, or when she's waiting for me to attack. Oh yeah, and he flips her
that
over, and they're
was
like, why would you?
that was
Why
hilarious. He
would,
just flips her over, but then it turns out like she totally deserved it,
oh,
which
I
she
know.
seemed nice in the beginning, but they were totally like the sirens from the Odyssey, right? Like they
Yeah.
were these female temptations of like chilling out, having food, relaxing, but they were trying to like ruin your life.
And I love when they end up trying to put that stuff in his food to get him to fall asleep, and they're like, we put enough for an elephant to fall asleep, and it's still not working. And it's
Yeah.
just he's able to. It just doesn't phase him at all until when they give him, I think, that orange juice at the end.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to show how like they're not too concerned with sticking with the facts in the fillers because like it specifically said you fall down, you can't get back up. So
Yeah,
in the manga they didn't fuck with that. But in the anime, like, he falls down and they're like, "Well, actually there's a secret trap door." So, there's that. But yeah, it was I did think the fillers were interesting and I did enjoy how brutal like Gohan's upbringing was there because you had the robot, right? So he watches the robot die and he has to move past that. You had the pet dinosaur he had, who he got defeated by the other dinosaur by like he knocked him out. And then his friend, who he saved, was actually killed by the other dinosaur, which is pretty dark. Like we were talking about like darkness, but
yeah,
Gohan accepts it as a part of like human nature. So
yeah,
it goes a large way into showing how he becomes despoiled, I guess, because he's like a pampered, shut in, kind of really overprotected by his mother. And then he gets despoiled through these experiences where he straight up has to say goodbye to like his friends and like
yeah.
they'll never return. Right. So
Mhm.
it shows how, hey, you went from doing your homework and living in a bubble to now having death happening all over.
Yeah, because part of the training, I don't think we mentioned this. Piccolo says you're going to spend 6 months on your own to act like to become a man, basically, and to rely on yourself. And yeah, he gets that moment where at the beginning he's doing a lot of crying. Like the one dinosaur goes to eat him and he disappears and he's on top of this mountain and he's just crying, trying to get down. And Piccolo's trying to, you know, bring him food every now and then, drop him some food, give him a fresh set of clothes,
Yeah, not even
and
that
yeah, you really
much, but yeah, like
not a
he
lot,
gives
but
him an
yeah,
apple, but he doesn't want to like have to do that all the time, right?
yeah, but yeah, you see that transformation, and yeah, I thought the robot story was interesting because you see parallels with Goku and Android 8, and Goku's relationship with different characters and his upbringing,
Yeah,
some non-human as well. So that
yeah.
was pretty cool as
Here
well.
robots definitely evoke sympathy. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah,
because they don't necessarily get brought back. Hooky Wookie, thank you so much, you mad lad, for the 1,000 bits. He says, I gotta go, Chads, but here's some bits. DBZ hype. So, yeah, thank you again, Hooky Wookie. Thanks for dropping by. And I agree. I agree with that comparison. And there seems to be more like at stake because they're less likely to wish back an android than like a human, right? Obviously they did
yeah,
in the movie, but in general it's like for this robot, he's never gonna appear again, I'm guessing.
no,
Especially because he's filler, which is funny because you have these moments where Gohan is like, I hope to see you again, like with that one kid, the
yeah,
one orphanage kid,
yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, you never will probably because it's filler. But as mentioned in the chat, Toriyama did work with like these designs and the design of Hell and stuff like that. So it's not like purely non-canon. Like they probably did get Toriyama's approval, but it's not as canon as what happens in the manga, obviously.
I have a question about something, whether it happened in the manga. Yamcha being a baseball player.
No, it didn't.
No,
No,
I
but
thought that was pretty.
it was fun though.
It was funny. Yeah,
It was fun, and yeah, no, they just gathered them off screen, kind of thing. But I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed how I enjoyed how he was like so good. Like I was thinking, like, bro, in our own world, people work so hard and would kill to be like famous baseball players. And this dude's the
yeah,
best, and he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, oh, I guess I'll go. It pays the bills, but I want to fucking fight, man. I want martial arts. So I did like that. That was a nice humorous moment where we get to see our Z fighters, which now it makes sense. Before it didn't, but now Dragon Ball Z fighters, which include Yamcha and all of them. It's fun to watch them interact with the normal humans
yeah.
because it's just so not fair, right? Like
Oh no,
Yamcha's like having fun kicking their ass, and Yamcha's not at all like strong compared to like the strongest characters, but he shits on humans. And in
no.
the manga, it pointed out that Yamcha's power level was 177, which was below Krillin, who had 206, and Tien, who had 250. So yeah, Yamcha's like one of the weaker characters, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, he still shits on everyone else.
yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a funny kind of sub story there, especially when they get into the bench clearing brawl and like it seems like he's just having this existential crisis. Like I was this fighter before, and
Exactly.
now I'm this
He's like, I'm a
baseball
sellout.
player.
Like, I want to be
Yeah,
fighting. And then they're like, yo, come to commies. And he's like, all right. And
yeah,
yeah, that even interaction with him and Bulma wasn't in in the manga, but it was interesting. Yeah. So like, what happened there? So first, Bulma is like, you know, you went on a date with someone else, but he's like, well, I invited you and you didn't want to come. So it's such like a stupid misunderstanding kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
So that was a classic boy girl drama right there. We have that thrown
yeah,
in with like life threatening battle situations.
yeah. So yeah, we talked a lot of the stories in terms of Gohan's training, the others as well. They go to train with Kami, and at first they're kind of complaining that you're not really teaching me anything. And Kami says, yeah, I didn't teach them any, I didn't teach Goku anything, any sort of techniques. And he puts him through those visual simulations that Goku
Yeah.
must have went through,
Again,
which
that's
is
not in the
crazy.
manga right there. But it was
Yeah,
interesting seeing Saiyans. I do like the fact that we got like extra Saiyans. And they said
yeah,
they kind of send them back like 100 years or something, right?
yeah,
That was all
yeah,
interesting. Like I enjoyed the extra Saiyan stuff because like also what King Kai would later say about the other people, like that Atlantis like advanced civilization people, Tuffles or whatever, that lived with the
Yeah.
Saiyans, like that was all not in the manga. So
Oh,
it's interesting learning about like that extra stuff, whether it becomes like tweaked a bit later on or whatever. Like it is interesting knowing that stuff. So the
yeah.
Saiyans,
So
just for people who didn't watch the anime, the Saiyans were like a small population that were much more powerful than the Tuffles, but like the Tuffles didn't worry about it because they had advanced technology and there wasn't a lot of the Saiyans. But then the Saiyans attacked, and then the full moon happened, which happens only once, like every 5 years or even less often, something ridiculous. And they used the full moon to defeat the Tuffles. So
yeah.
that's kind of the backstory between how they conquered Planet Vegeta in the anime.
Which, just on a side note, I don't think this happened in Dragon Ball. How about like Gohan when he becomes the ape, him shooting like these giant energy waves out of his mouth?
Mm.
He seems like way more
I
intimidating than
can't
when
I can't
Goku.
recall now. I think it definitely happened in the movies, I think, but can't remember if it happened like first time in Dragon Ball. But yeah, Gohan like is shooting energy waves immediately after he transforms.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I mentioned yeah, not in Dragon Ball, but crazy that we see it here. But yeah, do you want to focus now on Goku's training and when he gets to Kami ends up bringing him to see him? They meet
Yeah, they meet
Yemen.
King Yema, right? Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's interesting. I like a lot of the comedic stuff where Goku is like, "Oh my God, this guy beat Raditz. Like, why doesn't he train me?" And then Kami's like, "Yo, like, shut up. Like, this guy's not even as
yeah,
strong as King Kai." And the Emma is like, "Bro, I can hear." And he's like, "Oh, sorry. Your ears are so big." And then
yeah.
he just keeps saying wrong thing after wrong thing. So that was humorous. I like watching these. I think Dragon Ball does that well with these like holy godlike beings, like getting into these funny, awkward social situations. Like I like the
Yeah.
mixture of them, because you think like gods will be super professional, dignified, but here they still have those funny, like awkward interactions like we do all the time. So I
Yeah,
like that touch of it.
yeah. So yeah, um, we get to the situation where we learn that in order for Goku to train with Kai, he has to go through, like you said, Snake Way, which turns out to be 10,000 miles, I
And
believe.
by the way, I took note of this because it was fucking 10,000 miles. So I'm like, that doesn't seem that much for a shonen world, whatever. Bro, in the manga, the translation was 1,000,000 kilometers, which is 621,000 miles.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
way more, like than 10,000, right? Because like I feel like Goku wouldn't take super long to do 10,000.
No. Yeah, for sure. And
So
it's crazy because
big difference there.
yeah. And he basically has to, on his way there, he has to run it all or crawl or whatever he does because he tries jumping, but obviously there are times where we see it that one time he completely misses and goes through the clouds. But in order for accuracy purposes, he has to run it. And then obviously when he goes through the clouds and goes up that secret staircase after meeting the red and blue ogres, he has to start at the very beginning. So he
Yeah, and again,
loses
that
all
doesn't
that
happen
ground
in
he
the
made.
manga,
Yeah,
but it happens in the fillers. Yeah.
yeah. So no, that's crazy.
But it
So
was interesting seeing how he how he caught the red ogre, right? I enjoyed that. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take the forbidden fruit and like
yes,
eat it and it'll satisfy me for 3 months." Like in the manga they just explained like you're dead. You don't need to eat. Like you can't die. You're dead. So you can't starve to death. It's fine.
yeah,
But yeah, they made a bigger deal in the anime of him like wanting to eat or being exhausted if he doesn't eat or stuff like that.
yeah. Because he like questions that in the anime. I think it says, "Why am I hungry? Like I'm
Yeah.
dead."
Yeah, and
But
like and I think they didn't mention that he doesn't need to eat because they wanted to do stuff like that fruit episode in Hell. They wanted to do the he's lured in by food by the snake princess, right? So they wanted to
yeah,
do that kind of stuff. But yeah, they straight up say like, "Bro, you don't need to eat. Like you're dead. You're good."
mhm, yeah.
So that was funny. Um
Anything else? along
Yeah.
Snake Way you want to talk about, or do you want to get to when he
We
gets
could
the
get
Kai's
to
planet?
it. Yeah, we could get to it. I think we covered most of the notable stuff. Yeah, I really, really love the King Kai part. Like, this is hardcore nostalgia right now for me. Like, that might have
Yes.
been like some of the first stuff I saw him on King Kai's planet. I absolutely loved it. I love the world building. I love how like he has to jump and it's like a small planet. I love the gravity situation, how it's 10 times the Earth's, and it's about the same as the Sand planet, which is interesting little trivia information. Yeah, I really love that stuff. It's on the same level as like weighted clothes for me, where it's
Yeah.
like I love how he gets to train in this much harder gravity heavy situation, and so when he gets back to normal, when he gets back to Earth, he'll be like fucking way stronger. I love that idea.
Yeah. No, I love that as well. And yeah, it's it's funny how when he goes to the planet, he falls down instantly, but then there's this monkey just going around like the gravity is nothing,
Oh
and you're
my
thinking,
god, yes.
how
The
powerful is this
monkey.
monkey? Is this
So the
guy?
monkey is fucking powerful. Bubbles. Bubbles. Let's
Yeah,
address him by his real name, Bubbles Senpai.
yeah,
So
respect.
and to be fair, like at first he thinks it's King Kai again, and this is one of the funniest moments to me in the entire arc, where he's like moving around like a monkey. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is good training in like this much gravity," and he's like, "So I just copy you?" Ooh, 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 ah, ooh.
I know.
And then he's like, "Wow, King Kai, like this is hard stuff." And then King Kai's like, "Bro, no, that's just my favorite monkey. Like, what are you doing?"
I know.
So I absolutely love that. I love that. That's like Dragon Ball humor at its best. Like I laughed at that when I saw it in the anime, and again when I was reading in the manga. Like the fact that I knew it
Hmm.
was coming didn't stop me from laughing at it.
And how about when he meets Kai, and at the beginning, Kai thinks he's there for like comedy training.
Exactly. So that was hilarious too. I again I enjoy how Dragon Ball never takes itself too seriously. And yeah, even though this guy's like Goku needs to get stronger to save his loved ones and the earth and everything, and King Kai is the only one like strongest who could like teach him this. There's still time for jokes, and so King Kai is like a multifaceted character. He's not just super strong. He's also like this guy who considers himself a comedian and says really corny jokes and tries to get like. And when Goku doesn't laugh, he's like, I don't know if I could train you. And then Goku
Yeah,
fakes laughing, and then he's like, oh my god, you're so funny, King Kai. He's like, well, I guess I could like, maybe you're just slow, maybe you're just stupid. Yeah, you recognize my greatness. I could train you. It's all right, but first you need to make me laugh. How did you enjoy that part?
no, that was great as well. And I thought it was interesting that, yeah, there's this. We got in the training before in Dragon Ball, we had the idea of them focusing on their spirit energy. And obviously, this kind of training is not, he's not training him in humor, but it's almost like he's teaching a lesson that you need to be lighthearted in certain situations. And we get such a dark tone throughout this arc. And it's this moment where it's like, yeah, we also, if serious things happen, we need to joke around at times. Like, it's okay to joke around, and make light of, maybe not make light of certain situations, but to have a sense of humor. Like, we need that certain times to get us through moments. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to think, what joke does Goku
Yeah,
tell Kai to make him
I
laugh?
don't even recall. Like in the
I
manga,
forget
it
the
was
exact joke.
different. I do remember that. In the manga, it was like, so like, what are comedians? People who read comic books or something like that? Like it was really
Something
bad,
stupid,
but that's the point. And then King Kai is like actually starts laughing at that, rolling on the floor, laughing at that bad joke, and then he's like, "Fine, I will take you under my wing and teach you the ways of comedy, because I'm the funniest
yeah.
man in the world." And he's like, King Kai, like, I don't give a fuck about humor. I want to become a fighter. And he's like, oh, you're here for the martial arts.
Yes,
Because he thought his comedy was so legendary that people
I
seek him
know.
out to become better comedians. Like, it is brilliant. But then King Kai is like, yo, why didn't you just mention that in the beginning? And then they hop to the training.
Yeah. which we learned that I don't know if you mentioned this, but basically the Saiyans are going to come in 88 days, and he says the training on this planet. Which do we get approximately how long he's on Kai's planet for?
So sorry to interrupt you. I do think it's like they give like something like maybe 188 days or something. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's around
Yeah,
half a year. But we do have the anime joke right here from Twilight. Thank you, Twilight. So Goku says, "What's the difference between a jailer and a jeweler? One sells watches, and the other watches sells." So like something really bad like that, right? Like that. That's
yeah,
that's the kind of shit. Um, but I mean, to be fair, like I laughed at that moment, even if I wouldn't have laughed at that joke.
yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, I think it's I don't know the exact amount of days, but yeah, he basically says, like you mentioned with the gravity, it accelerates his training significantly
Yeah, he says like
compared to training on Earth.
the equivalent to training with me, Kenkai, is like thousands of years of training on Earth. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting, and it's probably partly the gravity and partly just Kenkai's knowledge, right?
yeah. Which something I totally forgot about. Goku still has his weighted clothes on because
No,
when
yeah,
they end up
first.
saying your
So
first
first
challenge
he
is
takes
to
him off,
shave the leg.
and then he gets him to put him
Yeah,
back on because he's like, bro, this isn't the time for shortcuts, right?
yeah,
Which is true. Like you're trying to be stronger than King Kai because King Kai says like those two Saiyans are stronger than him. So
yeah,
Goku straight up needs to not only surpass King Kai, he needs to surpass like him significantly. So yeah,
yeah,
no shortcuts. You wear your weighted clothes, and eventually he does learn how to deal with that. And I think in around 40 days in the manga, he catches Bubbles,
yeah,
the monkey, right? And it's interesting because King Kai talks about this Kaioken technique, which we don't get to see at work. But the
no,
story is, it's super hype. It's behind the scenes, and King Kai himself could never master it. But it seems Goku does master it, and so we can look forward to that in this upcoming fight against the Saiyans.
yeah. And something else I noticed as well is in his training, we know Goku just loves eating. He rejects food at times to improve his training. He
Yeah,
understands
that was interesting.
the risk or the stakes right
Yeah, he's like,
now,
no
and that
time to
every
eat. I gotta train.
yeah. So he understands that. So that's pretty interesting
To be
how
fair, though, he
he ends up
does take
rejecting
time
it.
to eat, even though he
Oh, he
doesn't
does.
need
Yeah,
to, because he's dead. But he does take time to eat. And the funny thing is, he's like, "Oh, it wasn't that good, but it really there was enough to fill me up." And then King Kai
yeah.
is like, "Bro, where are your manners? Like, I just cooked
No,
for
no.
you, and you're like, it's not that good. Like, fuck you." Oh, you gotta love Goku. And like, I loved how he ruined his prized car possession. Like,
Yes, Shay, I was going to say that.
that was definitely foreshadowed. And in the manga, it was funny too, cause like I think it's probably the same in the anime, but King Kai is like lives on this planet that, and Goku's like, yo, how are you not bored? How do you have like anything to do? Like, I'd be bored out of my mind. And King Kai is like, ah, yes, for the wise man, which reminded me of like sages and Stoic philosophy. He's like there's a world to do that you'll never run out of fun stuff to do. Like for example, I like counting the blades of grass or driving my car or like seeing how far I could pee or like it's just like
Yeah,
taking pleasure in these little moments. Um, Although it was like comedic, I did enjoy how little it took for him to be content. I did appreciate that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, you mentioned that one technique he learned, which we didn't see. We do see the other technique, which is the spirit
Spirit
bomb.
bomb. And the weird thing was, even though the spirit bomb is completely its own thing, right? That's Goku's thing, where he takes energy from the planet and stuff like that. Why the fuck did they call it in the filler Yamcha, the attack Yamcha used against the Saiyans? Why did he call it a spirit bomb, right? I'm pretty sure
The
he called
attack.
his
Oh,
spirit bomb. Yeah.
yeah,
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 so that was
totally
weird
forgot about
because clearly Yamcha should not know the spirit bomb, and that's a
it. Yeah,
different attack. But I don't know why they dubbed it like that. But yeah, this is different from a Yamcha spirit ball, which is just like him grabbing his own spirit energy. This is Goku straight up not only probably using his own, but absorbing the planet and its inhabitants' power in order to unleash this like ultimate move. And it's explained to us that it will be way, way stronger on planet Earth because planet Earth is way bigger and all the inhabitants, like, you know, there's many more. And straight up, King Kai is like, bro, don't even use this because it could straight up destroy the planet. So the hype is real for not only Kaioken, also the Spirit Bomb. We got the fucking Saiyans coming. Yo, it's crazy. Crazy. So many interesting threads coming together in the next arc.
I know. Just think back to when we thought Tien's, I think it was the Tri-Beam cannon, when that was like a threat.
Yeah, for sure.
And now
I mean,
a technique that can blow up the planet.
And the good thing about Dragon Ball is, like, looking back, you could always be like, yeah, look at how that's a threat. But like at the time, they do a great job of being like, yo, this is super serious. Yeah, you're totally right. That's a great example. Tri-Beam Cannon took out a little portion of Earth called the Stadium. And for us, that was like, holy shit, that's the strongest power we've ever seen. What the fuck? And now we're talking about a power that could straight up destroy the planet. And in the filler, Vegeta straight up destroyed a planet with his finger, with like a laser beam.
Yeah.
Like he straight up just like, which, by the way, like we don't need to get into that a lot, but that was an earlier filler happening, and it happened on like this bug planet, and it was like, bro, these bugs were like saying like Vegeta is their savior, and they were like viewing him as a hero, come back anytime. And Vegeta's portrayed as so brutal that after all that, he just destroys their whole planet. Like, man, that to me makes him like colder than anything we've seen in the manga so far.
And it's, I don't know if you remember this, but as soon as he is sending that wave to that planet, those two bugs are reuniting. The one who was stolen to be the queen.
Yeah, dude, not gonna lie, that was pretty romantic. Not gonna lie, I know it's like filler and it's like pretty random for Dragon Ball, but that was romantic. They're like hugging as the world explodes. Like, I don't know, there's like definitely some good Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers stuff going on there. I did enjoy that.
It was like I know it's a very different context, but like a Titanic moment where like everything's, you know, the world around them are getting destroyed and they're just embracing for the last time.
Yeah, but when you mention Titanic, everybody is like, bro, they both could have fit on that fucking piece of wood, bro.
I know, I shouldn't have even brought that up.
But yeah, for sure. Then we have obviously Goku catching bubbles. Then Gregory happens. And Gregory is interesting because he's like this grasshopper man or cricket man, and he flies around, he's super fast, and Goku needs enough precision to hit him with like a heavy hammer. That adds, like, that's obviously significant because there's the gravity issue happening as well, right?
Yeah.
So we have those combined factors. Bro, I was shocked. I felt like my childhood betrayed me when I figured out that Gregory was not in the manga, bro.
Really?
Like, I did not know that. Like, for me, it was like, you know, because I grew up with that scene and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, Gregory, where's Gregory? Waiting for Gregory in the manga. And he just didn't come. It was just like bubbles. So, fuck, bro. Gregory doesn't exist. My poor Gregory.
Yeah, you loved that.
But that was Goku. That was pretty good parts though, and that was good filler. And we had like him destroying like the car and shit like that, like funny moments.
I know. No, that was a great moment, and even we see Goku learning again. He's becoming faster, becoming stronger, but also using strategy as well in terms of, I think he ends up throwing the hammer, right? And it goes all the way around the planet.
Yeah.
In order for him to be able to hit him. And when he does hit him, he's like, yeah, like it didn't even hurt. And he has this like big like bruise that pops up.
Yeah. Eneru has to head out to work, but he thanks us for the awesome stream. Thank you very much, Eneru. See you next time. And yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think necessarily he should have used strategy there, because I feel like the whole point is to, like, you know, be good enough that you could easily hit him. But yeah, like it was obviously he improved enough to do it, and then later it shows again that he could do it with no problem, right? We get him to like catch bubbles super fast. We get him to hit the cricket man super fast again afterwards when he's just wrapping up and showing his power. And then he shows that the spirit bomb, he has amazing control, and he could destroy a block that's being controlled by King Kai, made to go super, super fast. So he's ready, and the Kaioken is still a mystery, as is how big the spirit bomb can get if used on planet Earth.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And another thing that's interesting in the manga is that Kami says all of the fighters that joined him, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, they all surpassed him, which is pretty huge. Because we know how strong Kami was in the actual Dragon Ball series. So the fact that they all surpassed him, including Yamcha, pretty impressive.
Including Yamcha. We always have to put that disclaimer there.
Well, I don't want to, but the series makes it difficult because, like, he's weaker than Krillin, you know what I mean? Like, Krillin 206, Yamcha 177, you know. Afterwards, we don't know. Maybe they're more around equal after the Kami training. But I'm just saying, Yamcha has been getting the short end of the stick among the Z fighters.
Yeah. And it's sad because Roshi, I mean, he's not in this arc much. He's so prominent in so many of the other arcs. He's not needed as much.
No, exactly. And pay attention to that, because it's like you have all these characters introduced super early, like Yamcha and like Tien and stuff like that, and Krillin, and it's like how much can you keep them relevant and in the story as you're introducing new characters? So taking that into account and watching what happens as we move forward will be interesting, because obviously we love Yamcha, we love Tien, we love Krillin, we love those guys, especially after watching Dragon Ball, right? But it's like, you know, you also need to make room, and that means less screen time for everybody. So it's like, we'll talk more about who gets shafted as we move on in the series.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we get to that point at the end where they end up resurrecting the dragon, right? I think Goku ends up, we never mentioned this, but he grabs onto Kai to communicate with Roshi, who is on the toilet. So we do get Roshi there.
Yeah.
To tell him it's time to resurrect the dragon.
That's actually a pretty funny scene, because I will say it is interesting that when King Kai repairs his clothes, Goku's clothes, I do like how he does the turtle mark on the front and his own in the back. Yeah. And it's funny, again, anime and manga conflicting, because anime has, I kind of wish it was yours because I trained under you. And in the manga, we have the complete opposite sentiment when he's like, oh, cool, I'm glad you did the turtle hermit one, because he sees the front, because he's like, I wouldn't want the lame one you have on your on your shirt. And then it's funny because Goku doesn't realize, but King Kai does, that the whole back is like his symbol. So I actually did prefer the way the manga did it, because I don't feel like Goku's character would be like, oh, I kind of wanted your symbol, you know? Like, I kind of don't feel like his character would do that. So I prefer the manga translation. But, yeah, keep going.
No, I was just going to say they end up resurrecting it. And what's interesting is in the anime, they end up, I forget who says it, potentially Oolong or someone, mentions how can they wish for the Saiyans to be dead? And I think the dragon says that exceeds Kami's power to make such a wish.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like,
interesting.
What they even mean by that. Because they're outside of the planet?
Yeah, I think it just means, like, it's not within Kami's power to do. I don't think it's outside the planet. I think Kami is just, they're too strong for Kami to kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what's coming across, which is fair, because how boring would this series be if, like, a threat shows up and it's like, oh, dragon, can you please kill them? Your wish is granted. Another 5 years, a new threat. Your wish is granted. Like, you know, that would be kind of stupid. But I do like how they addressed it, so that we're not wondering, like, hey, you could have just fucking wished them away, right?
Yeah.
And
So yeah,
and we have fucking added fucking tension because apparently Kami is gonna die within a year, so this is their
mhm,
last chance to use the Dragon Balls, and Piccolo and Kami will disappear within a year, and so
yeah,
will the Dragon Balls. So stakes are heavy. No one will be able to be wished back as far as this goes, right?
mhm,
Our information, and yeah, so in a sense, Piccolo kind of takes it upon himself to almost leave his legacy behind on Gohan, and I think it's so cute how he gives Gohan his own symbol to wear.
mhm,
Like that's so
yeah,
perfect. Like Gohan, Goku's son, his archvillain's son, is wearing Piccolo's like symbol. Like that is amazing, and I love the moments between Piccolo and Gohan. Like yes, it's funny how he like just beats the shit out of him, and he's like focus. Like it is pretty hilarious, but also his like kind moments, and we're like, he doesn't want to admit it, but yeah, he cares about this dude, and yeah, I really like how Piccolo has changed since
yeah.
Dragon Ball.
Do you feel this is a way more drastic change than Tien?
Uh, yes, I will say so. Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Because although like he hasn't become as good as Tien yet,
yeah,
I do say this is more drastic. Yeah, because think about it, he was like pure evil and a demon. Like Tien was still human and was a bit misled, right?
yeah,
But Piccolo now, they say in the manga he's straight up not a demon anymore, because if you remember, when people are killed by demons, they can't go to the afterlife. They're kind of like doomed to roam, never finding peace. But Raditz actually went to the underworld after being killed by Piccolo. So Kami
yeah,
explains that that happened because Piccolo isn't a demon anymore. So they're actually straight up saying that Piccolo has fundamentally changed, even though
yeah,
he's obviously still he's like tough, and we have that word for girls who act like they don't like you but they like you, tsundere. That's like a
mhm,
Japanese way of saying like they'll call you an idiot or say you're so dumb, but they're actually like you. And Piccolo is that kind of character too, where he's like obviously not in a romantic way, but he'll insult people and he'll give them a hard time, but secretly you like it because he likes them, and so he's just doesn't want to admit it, right?
yeah,
So Piccolo's that kind of character where you kind of appreciate those characters more because they're like they don't want to be liked, kind of, they want to be a dick, but like they just can't. They secretly like want to do what's right or whatever and like the person. So I do think Piccolo's that kind of character, and we'll see plenty more of those as we go on.
yeah. No, that's crazy to see that transformation. I'm curious to see, possibly in the next arc, Goku's reaction to Piccolo's learning that his son trained under Piccolo
Yeah,
after all they went
and to
through.
be fair, Goku like straight up told Gohan like, "Yo, Piccolo has changed. Like, he's not like he was before." So he knows he's changing. Obviously, he didn't try to
Yeah,
destroy the world in 5 years or whatever. But yeah, it'll be crazy that Piccolo trained Gohan, and it had to be Piccolo because I explained Goku would be a terrible trainer for Gohan. He'd go too easy
yeah,
on him. He'd have to answer to Chi Chi. It had to be Piccolo to like use some of that tough love to get Gohan to stop being spoiled, to stop crying. At the end of it, like I used the picture on Twitch, the right bottom picture of Gohan just having a lump over his eye so big that you can't even see
yeah,
his eye. You can't even see,
yeah,
and he's not crying. So he's
yeah,
grown a lot where he can put up with brutal like fighting combat and still laugh about it. So
yeah.
Piccolo did a great job. Obviously, you know, we're not comparing this to the real world where like this would straight up be child abuse, but
No,
in this fictional world where Gohan needs to become stronger in order to defeat the Saiyans, I think they did a great job with it.
yeah, absolutely. There is
Anything else you wanted to mention before we sign off?
a side thing not related to this, but remember how you said you realized that Gregory was not part of the manga, or you figured that out, and you're thinking like, "Wow, I was waiting for this moment because I remember it as a kid."
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious. what your reaction would have been as a kid. Obviously, you don't understand it, but we get a brief moment with Launch in this arc and her sneezing, and I'm curious to be like, what would your reaction been like? Who the hell is this girl?
Yeah,
Like
I don't
sneezing
remember.
and
I don't remember Launch well, honestly. In the manga, it didn't even show her. It just kind of said she went 5 years ago to look for Tien. That's all that
yeah,
we're told. And so I do like that ship. I like the Tien and Launch like ship. And I explained to you ship is when you like put two characters in a relationship together in an anime.
yeah,
So I like that ship, but I don't remember Launch much. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I don't think a lot of Dragon Ball Z people would remember her because it's like she clearly isn't playing a big role in Dragon Ball Z so far.
no,
And yeah, I don't even recall her, to be honest, from a
yeah,
childhood. I
no,
recall Gregory, I recall King Kai, I recall Goku, Raditz, Nappa, like all those guys, but Launch is like a non-entity in my childhood.
yeah. Curious to know if she'll even have really a role going forward because she's not at the Kami house anymore. She's on her own, back
And
to
and Tien straight up leaves
time.
her. She's like, Tien, I'll follow you anywhere, and he's like, sorry, bitch, I'm gonna go train. I'm
Well, I
gonna go
think like
train
he's mad.
Takami.
Yeah, he's mad at her life philosophy. How she says you can be a criminal like me. Like it's so easy. You can get this
Yeah,
money.
yeah. No, you can't be with a chick like that because like if you like one personality, you're not gonna like the other one. So it's
Yeah,
like I get where Tien's coming from. Like you can't really have a long term relationship with Launch, because
no,
obviously I'd like the blue haired one more,
yeah,
but when she becomes Launch, that would be a nightmare. And if someone happens to like the Launch, which I don't get you, but like if you somehow think Launch is the better chick, um, then when she transforms into the blue haired one, you wouldn't like her, right? So
no,
she's like the worst like girl to be in a relationship with. But as far as Dragon Ball goes, I do ship them together.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited to see what happens because at the end we see the Saiyans land on planet Earth. We learn obviously that Goku has to come back from Snake's Way, so it's going to be delayed. So I'm curious to see, who's going to step up first when it comes to facing Vegeta and Nappa. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna be
yeah, this
super
was a
interesting.
super busy arc, but I really enjoyed it.
And
Like the stakes were super
mostly
high.
busy because of the fillers. And
Yes.
to be fair, I'm kind of mixing up the arcs here because, as you saw, like the Raditz himself was only 6 episodes,
Yeah.
the arc, so I wanted to cover more. So I just covered up to the Vegeta, like coming to planet
Yeah.
Earth. So I thought that way we have plenty to talk about, and we're not just like spending a whole week on 6 episodes. So
Yeah.
I might be more free with the way I break them off in the future. But for next episodes, it's going to be 22 of Dragon Ball Z to 35, or chapters 19 to 47 of the manga. So there's going to be way less fillers in this following arc. And plus, at the end, we're going to also mention the World's Strongest movie and the Tree of Might movie, both of which come after the Dead Zone movies. So I think 1990 and 1991. So again, we're gonna just for fun add those at the end because we want to go chronologically and we want to cover everything so we don't miss it. So if you are a fan of the movies, definitely watch those two, and you can discuss it with us at the end after we finish covering the episodes for the next arc. Where would you rank this one? Are we gonna do the ranking or start a new ranking with Dragon Ball Z? Would you
Um,
with the arcs? It might be too
maybe
complicated now, right?
yeah, maybe we should start a new ranking.
Yeah,
So maybe
cause
next week we
yeah,
will
yeah, that makes
start the
more
rank.
sense. Yeah, but I will say I absolutely love this stuff. Dragon Ball was great. I'm not gonna deny that, obviously. But for me, Dragon Ball Z, with the nostalgia probably being heavily to blame, is more exciting, more hype, and I can't wait because like these are defining moments of not just the series, but like some of which are defining moments of my childhood. So I'm really
Yes.
excited to get into all of these like crazy epic moments that I look fondly on. And yeah, until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Bang.